and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Evan Decker, and joining me, Siege and Sarowick. How are you doing today, Siege?
I am doing really well. Yeah, it's terrible and gross out, but I'm here recording a podcast with you, so my life is pretty good.
Oh, that is pretty good, right? That's the beauty of the internet. It's an escape from the outside world.
They don't know that we secretly hate each other.
I think they do. It's not so secret, and I think they all know. So I almost led with this, but I didn't want to surprise you with. I wanted to surprise you with it on air, but I wanted you to know that the surprise was coming.
Okay.
Zachary Dyer, you know Zach, right?
Mm-hmm.
He does the podcast Boards with Friends, which I definitely recommend. Board with Friends is a good time. I've done the show myself, so look it up. It's out there. He explained to me what this show is, and we're not a show about nothing, Siegen. The Say Report is a show about everything.
There it is.
Right? That.
Boom, and it lands.
Perfect, right? So from now on, the Say Report, a show about everything. I'm your host, Evan Decker.
And I'm Siege and Sarowick.
And welcome to the Say Report. So, Siege, how you been? Aside from the outside weather, did you do anything, monumentally important this week?
Well, it's funny you asked, Evan. No, I got to go to see a fucking Kesha concert last night.
I got to see Kesha in the after credits scene of Gem and the Holograms, but your thing sounds better. So, how was that?
Really, really weird. Extremely weird. For anybody that doesn't know, right now she's in the middle of like a terrible fucking lawsuit. Supposedly, allegedly, one of her old producers was like trying to like get sexual favors out of her for like recording music and shit like that, like some bigwig at the recording studio that she was at, and so. Clearly she's in the middle of trying to get through that mess, but that means that like legally there's like a ton of stuff she can't do. She has like 2 or 3 albums worth of music that she can't release. She can't technically play her old stuff. She wasn't allowed to go on concert as just Kesha, like a whole bunch of weird stuff around that, right? So the whole tour is designed around her trying to like jump through loopholes. Like, it's the craziest thing ever. So technically it's not a Kesha concert. It was Kesha and the Creepies, which is like the band that she's going up with. Yep. Kesha
Thank you, Kesha and the Creepies. Well, that was my whole question, is that like I knew that she was embroiled in like legal issues, so I was surprised that you got to see her at all. Like you saying that you went to go see a Kesha concert, the first thing I was like, oh, finally she's out of all that hot water. But no, she's out of the frying pan into the fire, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, so essentially what they do is they have, a slew of their own music. Like there was like 4 or 5 songs out of the set list were their own stuff. But then like 2/3 of the set list were them just like doing covers of Kesha songs.
Nice.
But like a couple of other thrown in there, a couple of other covers thrown in there as well. But like they did TikTok, they did Timber, they did this phenomenal, like the big finale was Timber. And it's like this, and the other thing is that
probably one of her greatest songs. I don't think anyone would disagree with that.
Well, right, and the thing is the band is very much like a grungy, like rock, like bar band.
Is it the Misfits? Is it the 3 girls who play the Misfits and Gem and the Holograms? Because that would just be too perfect.
No, but essentially that's who it is. Is that band, right? And so these guys were just fucking weird and awesome. Like at some point, she's dancing around with guys in dinosaur masks. People are running out with like glitter guns and tiger suits on. It was just fucking weird. And then to add to that, the other weirdness of this is anybody that doesn't know, I live out in the Midwest in a town in the middle of nowhere. So how she ended up at this place, I have no idea. So we're talking about a venue that can maybe hold 3,000 people. That's it for a Kesha concert. And then on top of that, because she can't legally be Kesha right now, like a bunch of people were weird about going to it. So it was kind of like only 2/3 full. So like, there's nobody there.
So is it not a $sign in the name? Is it just Kesha?
Not even a $sign. Yeah.
So, but that's how I guess she gets away with it, right? Because $sign ha is different than just saying Kesha.
Yep. Yeah, man, music law is weird. I do not envy anybody that has to deal with that sort of stuff. It's like when they talk about like not being able to re-release like Rock Band or like old episodes of TV shows because the rights are just too phenomenally fucked for them to figure out.
Can I just tell you, thank God though. It's unfortunate that I'm probably never going to get to Ed on DVD. Like that is one of the greatest regrets of my life because I love Ed. It's just one of my favorite things. But because of those issues with songs back then, we've sort of fixed that problem going forward, right?
Yeah. WKRP is the big one that people point to a ton. That
Oh, it's
show.
finally out, which is great. But the
well,
Shout
right.
Factory complete series, it doesn't have the music. Is that?
Yeah, or what it is they like replace the music, so they like have conversations about things like the Rolling Stones, but the music you just heard was not the Rolling Stones,
Well,
like things like that.
This is the one that came out last year that has that change. Not like
Oh, is that, yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking because
That's the kind of stuff that I'm aware of, so that would make sense. The one that they were finally able to release the episodes, that's probably exactly why it's been such a hassle for them, is because they've been taking all this time to try and like systematically replace music in places and try and figure out ways to like get around things.
This is actually something that I'm going to put a pin in, and I'm going to do some research before the next episode because I have the first season of WKRP in Cincinnati, and it is awful. It's exactly what you talk about. But I was under the impression that the Shout Factory release that came out last year was able to figure out all of the music rights.
Oh, maybe that's how maybe they fixed it. Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah, find out, man, because that'd be awesome.
Because Shout Factory, they did Freaks and Geeks, and the only problem with Freaks and Geeks was you're never going to get all the musicking rights. But then Shout Factory came in and said, "Fuck it, people are going to spend the money." Right. We're gonna do it, and I mean that's 18 episodes. I paid $60 for it.
Yeah, well, and I was gonna say that anybody out there that ever wonders why something like that, those box sets for things like Freaks and Geeks cost that much, a big part of the reason why, is fucking music rights, which is ridiculous.
Yes,
I love the Joss Whedon method of him having like kind of no-name bands on. Like, remember Buffy? Whenever they would go to what do you call it? The club there in Buffy.
I watched the first season of Buffy and then I ran away.
We're not friends.
Okay. Right? See, it's not so secret that we hate each other. We just happen to have the same free time schedule.
But yeah, I got to go to a Kesha concert, and man, it was fucking weird.
That's awesome. That is super cool.
What have you done with your week?
What did I do with my week? I saw Split and The Bye Bye Man.
Man, you saw Split, huh?
Oh.
We got to talk about Bye Bye Man as well, but Split, like how, as somebody that was with M. Night Shyamalan until probably Airbender, that was probably the time when I finally bit the bullet and was
You're
like,
kidding me? You survived through Village, or like was Village a blemish, but Lady in the Water? I love Lady in the Water. I think it's one of my favorite movies by him.
Yeah, I think some people really hate that movie, and I can never figure out why.
I honestly feel like it's affected by the hatred that came from The Village.
The Happening more than The Village was really kind of upsetting to me. The Village I could take. Like, I didn't like the twist. It was a little dumb, but there was a lot of really cool imagery in it.
What twist are you talking about, Sejan?
In The Village?
In The Village, like spoilers for The Village, possibly. What are you talking about?
The fact that it ends up not actually being in the past, which like
that thing that I knew the second
I was gonna say,
Susan Sarandon said they threw his body in the dirty river. I literally in my theater said, "Oh, you mean the East River? They threw his dead body in the East River?" And everybody like turned and looked at me, and I'm like, "No, this is modern times, right? Let's just like not be surprised when they reveal that and enjoy the movie for what it is."
Right, and that's kind of like the big thing for me was like I kind of knew that was coming, so like the twist part I can see why people don't like, but at the end of the day, like I think the rest of that movie is actually super well done, and the same goes for like and the same goes for like Signs and stuff like that. Like I don't know.
Signs is one that I've never seen. Like of that that holy triumvirate of Shyamalan, and it's not like I hold anything against it. It's just it's never happened for me.
You should check it out. I think it's really well set up. It's not about aliens, but it is about aliens, which is like this weird thing that people get caught up on. Is they're like, oh, it's an alien movie, and they show the alien, so it sucks. And I'm like, no, it's not really an alien movie. Like that just happens to be a plot device for him to tell another story.
Excellent. Well, I feel like that's a similar problem that people have with Lady in the Water.
Yes.
Is that like no, it's not really about that. It's more about what this guy's life and the community of life of humanity. So,
yeah, but fuck him for The Happening. That movie is just...
I have it sitting on my DVR ready to watch.
Oh
so
my God.
I am excited. Well, I love Wahlberg. You know, how do you not love Wahlberg? But no, so...
trees.
So
trees, man.
I'm talking to a tree here. So have you seen Split?
Terrible Wahlberg. No.
No.
I have not.
You know what? I do a better Donnie Wahlberg, to be completely honest with you. M. Night Shyamalan, one of the few who's worked with Donnie and Mark.
No, I have not seen Split. I'm super interested in it though because I love James McAvoy.
You're Split. Oh, it's so good.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not even. I'll let you have the joke, but no, I'm not even split on seeing it. Like, I really do want to see it. It's just, it's one of those things where it's, am I going to rush out to see it now, or am I just going to wait and grab it when it's like either on Netflix or in the at the dollar.
Sejan,
Red
I
Box.
need to be honest with you. You
Yeah.
need to see it now. You need
Okay.
to see it before it gets spoiled, because the reveal at the end is the greatest part of the movie. And I was in a debate with somebody regarding the reveal at the end who said it came from nowhere and it was clearly just fan service. Where I'm like, no, minute one of the movie, I'm like, oh, this is what they're gonna do. And then when it happened, I cheered out loud in the theater because like I'm like, oh my god, they didn't do it. Like they totally had this opportunity to do such an amazing thing and they botched it. But I still loved the movie. Like the movie still carried it. I was just like that personal disappointment and like, oh really, I this is what I thought it was gonna be. And I'm disappointed that I was wrong. And then like mid-credit scene completely proved correct. So I could not contain my excitement enough.
Cool.
Which made even better by the guys walking out being like, you know what was better than that reveal? That guy's reaction. Like that guy was so freaking happy.
That's awesome. Man, yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out. It's just, it's like,
But
it's
I'm telling
so hard
you, but I am
because-
telling you 100%. After seeing, and I'm not going to spoil what it is because maybe a listener, you've been able to avoid it. But the one thing I wanted to see happen in Triple X, The Return of Xander Cage, has been spoiled for me in the TV spots.
Oh,
And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That's the moment. Like, that's the moment where, like, I would cheer. That's freaking the Misfits at the end of Gem. It's the end of Split. That's the moment that, like, drove me out to the movie. And you're going to spoil it in the marketing?
yeah. That sucks. Man, movie marketing's a pain in the ass nowadays.
Movie marketing, it's just, it hasn't been something that I've noticed to the level until very recently. Because honestly, like Split, where like even like you're excited, you're a Shyamalan fan, but to be torn on it is 100% the way that film was marketed. Because my parents were like, "Why do you want to see that movie? It looks so scary," and I'm like, "It wasn't scary at all. Like it was a Shyamalan film. You know, like there's elements of horror and sci-fi, but like I wouldn't say it was a horror film by any stretch of the imagination."
Yeah, like Sixth Sense, you don't look at that as like a scary movie. Like there's definitely a couple of jump scares in it, but overall it's actually just a pretty dramatic film, you know? I mean, look at Unbreakable, which is honestly one of my favorite superhero films of all time.
Yes.
But it's not like a superhero movie.
Yeah, that's what he does. Like exactly. And then talking about Signs, which again I've never seen, he took that formula and that alien type movie,
Yeah,
and he just sort of set it in that
type.
setting.
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
he told a different story based on what you said. And again, like I think that's what he was trying to do with The Village, is that he made a period film, but not.
Right. Yeah, he wanted to make his version of the Crucible, essentially, is what The Village is.
Exactly. So I think that's the kind of thing that you need to look at it. Like you can't ever go to a movie expecting, like even After Earth, which I think we would both admit is pretty garbage.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But that was the Shyamalan telling of a science fiction story.
Mm-hmm. Right, because it's not really about the sci-fi story. That whole movie is geared towards being about the father-son relationship, and that's really what that movie's about.
Right, but people were expecting this whole new science fiction world. Like even when Will Smith is talking about with After Earth, this is going to be a huge new franchise, and I'm excited to build this world. And it's like, yeah, but the guy who made the movie wasn't even doing that. It was just a set piece for him.
Well, and that's exactly why I think something like Airbender didn't end up working, was because that needed somebody that wanted to make a franchise big world. And that's just not what Shyamalan does. Like, he's never been good at huge world building. He's been really good at storylines and characters. But other than that, like what else can you tell me about the world of his best movie, The Sixth Sense? Like, besides I can't even tell you what time period it takes.
The thing about that world is that it feels so much like it's our world.
But I can't even tell you, like, there were moments of that movie where I swear to God, I thought Bruce Willis was from like the 1950s, and like the only thing that throws it off is like cell phones. Other than that, like, there's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I get where you're coming from, and that's a movie I haven't seen in a long time. But you're right, he does seem like he's from another world. But again, based on what The Sixth Sense is and what it is revealed to be, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, but so before we've done this is a lovely Shyamalan detour, and really what it is go see Split. With I don't want to say anything more, but not by the next time we record, iffy, but like get out there and see it. See it before it gets spoiled by idiots the way that The Sixth Sense did. And based upon everything that you've just said to me, I think that you will enjoy it.
Okay.
And I think that it's totally it's a movie theater movie. I don't know if there's been anything else in 2017 that I could call like a hit, but I think it's the first real hit of 2017, at least for me.
Cool. Yeah, well, check that out for sure. So we got to get into some Disney today.
Yes, we do. The return of Disney Devon, because you were just what a jerk at the end of the last episode, being like, because Devon. You might not believe it, but he loves Disney music.
Good impression of me, man. You were nailing these impressions.
Oh, dude, come on. That's not the point of it. The point of it is to talk and have a good time. I'm not on SNL trying to do an impersonation of this stuff and looking like a fucking asshole. I'm sitting in my basement in my cozy clothes.
Oh man, you do though. You do love Disney, and you have always. Except you said that you've kind of fallen off the last couple of Disney movies.
Well, I got to tell you
about that.
Well, with the Oscars having been announced and 14 for La La Land, so congratulations on being relevant. Virtual high five. Sorry. They really reclaimed me with the year of Zootopia and Moana. Even though I feel like Moana really wasn't their greatest effort, and I'm excited to talk about Moana with you. I liked the story of it. I didn't really love the music. And that is what has always drawn me to Disney films, the music. You name a Disney film, I could definitely do a song from it without question. And for a lot of the 90s stuff, I could probably take requests. Like, you name a song, I could do it for you right now. Because, like, that's just how ingrained they are in me. And then, like, I want to say Mulan was the last true musical Disney, like, that had musical things for a long time. Like, they walked away from it. Like, Treasure Planet, Atlantis, they didn't really have it. Hercules, for having what I feel is one of the greatest musical sequences of 90s Disney, really didn't hang its hat on music the way that, like, Little Mermaid did.
No, not at all. Which one are you talking about, though?
Oh, come on. I Want Sam in Love.
Yeah. Yes.
Without question. In a movie full of huge set-piece musical interludes, I Want Sam in Love is... You feel with her. Like, and she's a character who, unfortunately, like, Hercules has some flaws, too. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I'm not going to be one of those people who, just because I love Disney, I'm going to forgive everything. Like, loving something is loving its flaws, too. And Hercules, a huge flaw is that Megra is sort of not a developed character before that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then that happens, and it's like, okay, yeah, you nailed it. Like, now I freaking care about this character, who up to this point was just like a pawn in the game.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair. I do love that scene though, man. That is phenomenal. Yeah, so they went off it for a little bit doing the music stuff, and then they came back. Really, their big return to that form was Tangled. Yeah.
Well, Princess and the Frog has some great music in it. But
that's true. I forgot that was their big, like,
you forget return. That movie, like, in general, like, which is a shame. Well, I heard someone say that Alvin and the Chipmunks, the Squeakquel, really killed what Princess and the Frog was trying to do, because they came out right. They came out right at the same time. And Squeakquel was more successful than the Princess and the Frog was.
And on top of that, the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies are, by all accounts, not that expensive to make. Versus Princess and the Frog, which is one of the most expensive hand-drawn animated movies of all time, and like infamously, like, Disney was like, we're doing this because we really want to do it for the fans.
Do it for the fans. This is what they want again.
But it is not going to make money. Like, they knew, like, even before it came out, they were like, we know this is not going to, like, be the billion-dollar Disney epics that we usually do. So that was what led them to do something like Tangled,
which is also hand drawn. Like, I watching the stuff on that they actually did the drawing for that 3D world. That it's not, like, rendered or anything like that. Like, it was still, like, not pen to paper, but, stylus to tablet. it's like, thank God that happened, because they showed like, we're aware of what we can do, and here's how we're going to modernize it.
Yeah.
And you see those touches, and it really does work. But then, like, you have Tangled, which is a great movie. I love Tangled. I think
I secretly think that might be like in my top 5 Disney movies of all time. Like, I forget about that movie until I don't, and then I suddenly remember everything about it and just love it. Like Flynn, right? That's his name?
Flynn Rider.
Yeah. He is such a good character. Zachary Levi, speaking of the Squeakquel.
Right?
Yeah.
Disney even said, we got beat by the Squeakquel. We're getting that guy who beat us.
Yeah.
You put one of ours in a Chipmunk movie, we put him in Rapunzel.
Oh, that had a dark origin to that joke.
Yeah, right? It was definitely a modified Untouchables reference.
Oh, man. Oh, God. I do love Tangled, though, so much. And then, like, good. So they do Tangled, and that comes out, and that kind of, and it hits just well enough. Like, it's not mind-blowing, but it hits just well enough where they decide that this is the way that they're going to go with their princess movies from here on out, you know? Exactly. And then the next one that they do is Frozen.
Well, yeah, because that's definitely the next princess movie, because that Wreck-It Ralph was 2012. I couldn't tell you what came out in 2011. But that Brave also came out in 2012, which I feel is a dark spot. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's Pixar too. Like, that's separate from the Disney stuff, you know. Like you kind of have to separate. And I know Pixar are owned by Disney, but like you kind of have to separate Pixar from anything that Disney's doing, because like they're kind of giving carte blanche.
Which is the big issue that I have with Brave, is because it feels like Brave with this attempt to try to take Pixar and put it into a Disney mold.
Yeah,
and it failed on just every level because of that, because that's not what Pixar is.
Right. But what you're talking about also is that you're talking about in Pixar history, you're talking about the early moments and them trying to figure out what they're actually doing. Because one of the big things when Pixar started is they had like 7 or 8 story concepts in their heads already when they started that studio.
Right.
So like back in like the early 90s when Toy Story first came out, they already had the idea for WALL-E. They already had the idea for The Incredibles. They already had the idea, you know, like there was a bunch of these ideas already in their heads. Brave was not one of those ideas.
Right.
And I think that's what's showing to you, is that idea that it was one that they were then developing in-house under the guide of like Disney, like telling them what they wanted out of Pixar and stuff. So I think you're right. I think Brave comes out of a different history than the rest of Pixar, which is why it doesn't feel like it fits.
Exactly. And like, you know, and they had just said, this is how we're going to do our princess movies, and then that one is such diametric to Tangled. But then we jumped to Frozen, which I hate. I think Frozen was maybe too much of a focus on the music. I felt like the story itself didn't support anything. And that's what's harsh for me in that movie. And that's all, and that it just doesn't gel at all. Like all the storytelling is by the music, but that's where I was getting to, is that like they've kind of come to this point where they're hanging their hats more on the music and who's doing the music for the movies, and that's something that's strange to me. Like that Moana.
I will say, I don't know if Frozen. I don't know if they were doing that with Frozen. I do feel they straight up did that with Moana. I think you're right. When you talk about the idea that they're definitely like they looked to who is going to be the musician first before it's, you know what I mean?
Yes,
like,
exactly.
But
well, I guess
Frozen,
I guess
it just
where
kind
I'm
of
coming
feels
from
like
with Frozen is the fact that Idina Menzel was cast as Elsa. Like it felt like they were trying to sell specifically to musical theater people. And that was, I'm just like, oh, okay, because I need another Wicked, right? Like, because Wicked's, we're tired of Wicked, so let's get the new one.
Yeah,
and that's exactly, and I think that's nostalgia for Wicked is partially why that movie took off the way that it did, because that song is so defying freaking gravity for the next generation of kids who feel like they don't fit in high school.
Yeah. There's definitely a move in Disney to try and find, you know what it is that they don't have their Alan Menken anymore. They don't have that person that they can turn to that just does the music for all of their movies. Because if you go back and look at all of the 80s and 90s Disney movies that we all love, like you'll see that it's really only 3 or 4 people that are putting the music together for all of them.
Exactly.
All of them. And they don't, and now we've gotten to a point where those people are retired or unfortunately passed away.
Well, like
And so they're trying to find that next person. And so maybe that's what it is that it's the focus is so much on that right now because they are so adamant that they need to find that in-house person that they can just lean on to do that sort of stuff right now.
But as a fan, it feels like stunt casting. It feels like Christy Brinkley in Chicago. It feels like we're going to pull in an audience who wouldn't go see this just on the Disney name alone, but we're also going to pull in the Hamilton vote. And
yeah.
And I mean, it's business. Like, you can't. I'm not an idiot. I know that the only reason that Disney exists and is making movies is to make money. But it is something that, like, as a fan of it, it's like when everybody sells out. Like, there was this whole thing in the 90s where it was like, oh man, you're gonna be a sellout, man. But that's the fucking dream. My dream is to, like, have these fucking morals and have these feelings, and to have someone with money recognize them and say, here's a fucking check. But we don't like the fact that you wear flannel. Lose the flannel. Yeah, for this check, I will do whatever you say. Within reason. I'm not going to suck you off. But
I mean, like, yeah, like, part of it is I guess you could call it that. But, like, I don't know. It's just such a weird... Because Moana was very clearly built with a purpose. And I think that purpose was the idea. Honestly, I think diversity was key for this thing. When they realized that they were going to be doing this Pacific Islander story, and they wanted to make sure that the voices were right, and I mean that voices in all aspects. So they went out and looking for somebody that fit that bill in terms of music making, and it's kind of hard to argue that Lin-Manuel Miranda is kind of like it's a really good diversity win for them to be able to say that look at this very specific composer with this very specific background and this very specific, like,
the
mission.
face of diversity in musical theater, right?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Without
so,
without question.
Right. So, like, it's pretty obvious why they choose to go with him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just let's try and snatch up all these people that love Hamilton right now. That's just a very nice added bonus.
Oh yeah, that's an added bonus. You don't think that's how you lead off the pitch. If you're going into the boardroom, you're saying we can try to get some of this Hamilton money, and also added bonus, it'll fit with what the movie's about. But, like, really, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's my cynicism, and that's the way we look at it. You say we're going to find someone diversified to do this movie that needs diversity, where I'm like, oh, we found a guy who people will go see the movie just because his name is attached to it. Added bonus that he can do what he did. And I don't know, like, but I feel like...
Do you know why I think it's that way and not the way that you're talking about? You know why I think
it's
the
Disney
egg before
and
the chicken?
It's magic?
No. It's the reason I think it's honestly the egg before the chicken as opposed to the chicken before the egg is because if they really, really, really just wanted more, like, somebody to slap a name on that they could make a bunch, why not just use the couple that did Frozen? Because they are pretty well famous in their own right. They've got a ton of other projects that they're already working on. They've done the whole Tony thing. They've won their Tony for Avenue Q. So, like, you get everything that you get from Lin-Manuel Miranda, plus you get two people that have given you a guaranteed hit in Let It Go.
Yeah,
so why not go back to them? Like,
because
you know what I'm
they're
saying?
busy working, trying to crank out the next hit. Like, it feels like Lin-Manuel Miranda is not going to become a Disney stable composer. That's not going to happen. If it did happen, that'd be freaking amazing. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
I don't see that being the way that this ends.
No, that's exactly my point. Is like so they go back to rather than go back to somebody that they would see as their Disney stable, I think they kind of like removed that from this one and was just like, who do we get that suits the project?
Which is great, but those people are currently working on a sequel to Frozen, and like those people were busy. So like if we have to find someone to fill the interim because we can't use our proven hit makers, why not throw money at the guy?
In the early 90s, like, you saw those guys putting out like tons of stuff, working on projects every year. They were working on a new project.
You know what? It was also because it was the 90s too. Like that, just like we were coming off the coke fueled high of the 80s.
I was gonna say there was so much cocaine still. Everybody was just like, we have to do all this work.
Yeah. Wait. Okay, so it's like a Little Mermaid, but like, what if we did one with like a beast? Like it was a big beast. And, like, he probably wrote that after he finished writing, like, Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Picture this. It's like Little Mermaid, but on land.
Oh, oh man, when we develop time travel technology, because that's gonna happen, right? We're gonna be the ones to do it because nobody else thinks about it fourth dimensionally enough. I want to go back and I want to work in Disney, and I want you to pitch Beauty and the Beast just how you did. And guess what? Because time is already written, it worked.
Yeah, we already know that it'll succeed.
So it's the Little Mermaid, but it's on land.
Oh man. So like,
yeah.
I don't know, man. I
said,
really enjoyed the fuck out of Moana. Like, exactly. I really did.
I'm going to the sing along tomorrow. Yeah. I'm going. It's at 10:50 in the morning. It only shows one time, and I'm going to be up and I'm going to be ready to go see it because I'm excited about that one in a way that I was not excited about the sing along for Frozen. And this is even a person who said that like I didn't think the music was that great. It's still catchy as hell. I find myself singing your welcome whenever, and as much disdain I have for the when they rhyme island with island 4 times, which isn't really rhyming, it's just repeating it. I know everybody on this island has a role on this island. Maybe I should roll with mine. I know everybody on this island is so happy on this island, and it's just like that was a lot of the word island within 12 measures of your song. And then, but that's his style, right? Like I can't fault the man his style, but also he rhymed daughter with water, which is like the thing that like, oh, that's fun, and I don't know, but there are things that like in the theater took me out of it.
It's an inner rhyme, man. That's totally acceptable in poetry, and
right, but it but it wasn't seamless.
Yeah,
in the way that like other things that have happened, because I'm sure that those flaws exist in those earlier ones, but they never took me out of it. And whether that's age or just skill on the part of the composer, I guess we'll really never know. Because I mean, I've rewatched Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid and been like, these are great. Like, these are perfect movies.
Yeah, and they always will be. They will always be perfect.
Right.
I don't know though, because like the thing for Moana for me, and I'm gonna be honest, like I really enjoyed Zootopia, but I feel like Zootopia is a really important film and a really good film, but it's not a spectacular film. And I don't think that anybody
is winning the best animation Oscar. Best animated feature is going to Zootopia. You heard it from me here right now. Honestly, this is what I thought this discussion was going to be. I thought we were going to fight this out.
I think maybe for maybe because of its like subject matter, but I think in terms of
scale, 100%. The impressive thing about that is the scale of everything. I mean, I'm just talking from an animation standpoint. And as I've started to go to like the short films and stuff, like if you have the opportunity to go see the 5 animated short films, do it. Usually, if you find a theater that's playing it, it's one ticket price. It's a nice like they pad that one out because like usually the animated stuff is like short because animation is never super easy to do. Especially when you're on a budget, which is what a short film kind of is. So they also show you other ones that were considered, and it's a really nice package. I would recommend the animated over the live action short film any day of the week.
Any day, yeah.
Because like you just get the value there. Like they make sure that. Yeah, continue.
No, sorry, but you think in terms of scale, you think that Zootopia will take it over something like Kubo? Because I mean, like, man, you want to start talking about like the work that goes into something. And I'm not saying that work does not go into things like Zootopia and Moana. Like tons of work go into that.
Right, but it's a different type of work.
Painstaking work that goes into something like Kubo and the payoff to be such a beautiful film.
The problem there is that people don't think of it like that. The people who are voting, and these are people who are even in the field of animation, right? Like that's how the Academy votes. Like John Q. actor is not voting for best animated feature. People who work in animation do that. But there are so many times where the film that clearly took the most effort and worked, like, because it needs to work too. Like, right. Like we had a giant skeleton, but you could freaking tell that it wasn't real. So it's great that you did that, but it didn't work. Everything in Kubo, I will agree, worked flawlessly. Like that movie is beautiful, and it took a lot of effort. But also, people don't know how hard stop motion animation is. as someone who used to work in that field, it has to look so effortless that people don't equate the level of difficulty that's there.
Well, and that's the problem for all of this sort of stuff, right? When you're doing it right, it looks easy, and so people don't think it took much work, right? But really, that's what usually takes the most work is the stuff that looks like it didn't take anything.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's but what right now, quantifiable, Disney, just the name Disney, has 2 films that they were able to release in the year 2016, and both of them were of high enough quality to get considered for an Oscar. So these guys are working twice as hard as Kubo because they didn't do 2 movies, Leica, and it's like, but no, that's not how that works at all. Like Disney,
and Zootopia is one of those ones that was like supposed to be in November of last year, and then they needed to revamp it, so they switched it.
Is that why it got?
Dinosaur.
I felt like they knew Good Dinosaur was going to be kind of a stinker, so they tried to capitalize on the goodwill that was earned by Inside Out to at least recoup costs in the opening weekend.
I think that it was a perfect storm of a bunch of weird shit that led to this. Remember that 2 years ago, Pixar didn't have a movie out. So then Pixar suddenly had these 2 in the bank because 2 years ago was supposed to be Newt, which is the Pixar movie that got canned, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly.
And so when that got canned, because of its odd, that's a whole other story.
That's a whole other thing that I would love to focus on. Because
but yeah. Because the weird thing about that is getting canceled, and then it left a hole in Pixar's opening, which meant that they were working on Good Dinosaur, which could have came out in May of this year, but then like you're saying, then there was probably some early moments where they were like, oh, this isn't our strongest. Plus, on top of that, Zootopia then also had its entire revamp. Because I don't know if you know this
revamp with Zootopia that I was unaware of. Like
when that movie was originally written, the bunny was not as big of a character. It was really a focus on the fox, on Nick. Nick was like the main character, which is actually why when you watch early teasers for it, it's really
all
more
Nick.
just
like she's not in the Zootopia teaser at all. It's just him.
Yeah, and then what happened was that a lot of weird stuff went down with the police. And then also on top of that, they brought in the guy from Wreck-It, I believe.
Yeah, Wreck-It Ralph did come in, yes.
So the director for that stepped in to just kind of, help them polish it up. And when he stepped in, he's like, well, what you guys are doing is you're ignoring this female character that you have that's actually pretty badass and like fun. So like you should really highlight this character. And then on top of that, like all of the stuff going on with police tensions in this country, they were just like we need to really think about how we approach this movie. So they like completely retooled like that story to make it a more equal split between those two, if not more of a focus entirely on her, and like really approach that subject of like racism and all that stuff that the movie's all about. That stuff is, I don't want to say wasn't present before, but like they realized that they needed to really focus on getting that cleaned up. So that's really where the retooling came in, apparently, on that movie. So I think that
oh my God, but like, so if I'm somebody who knows all that, right? We just talked about the effort that went into that movie. Yeah. Come on, like most movies that have a last minute revamp that you just described don't work out. Cough, Rogue One, cough. I mean, like,
yep.
It doesn't work. I don't know. I didn't like Rogue One, but that can be a whole other story for a whole other day. But it's just, like I understand now exactly why Zootopia took the Golden Globes. Because I was a little surprised. I thought it was going to go Moana. I definitely thought it was going to be a Disney win.
Well,
but I was excited when it was Zootopia.
Allow me to put my tinfoil hat on. Because
okay.
Here's the thing about award shows for me. It always feels like the Golden Globes is really kind of just like the like we want to give you an Oscar, but there's something else came out, so you kind of got steamrolled. So here's a Golden Globe. That's the way that I've always felt about the Golden Globes.
Oh yeah, no, the Golden Globes shouldn't be indicative of anything.
Right.
But
so if the Golden Globes, if Zootopia took it, there's that piece of me then that's just like, oh, then that means that Moana's definitely going to get the Oscar, because that Golden Globe was basically everybody being like, Zootopia, we really love you, but then Moana came out, so here's a Golden Globe, and now we're going to give this the Oscar. Like.
Now, the only thing that I disagree with that is that when the pool is very similar between the Golden Globes and the Oscars, they tend to drift in the same way.
Yeah.
Like,
Like I said, tinfoil hat all the way.
Oh
Like I
yeah,
have
no,
no
no, I get
evidence
it.
to back
It's
this
it's
up,
all
or
conspiracy.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
right.
it's
But I mean, I'm just talking. I mean, and again, I haven't gotten super broiled in that culture until I saw as many movies I saw in 2013 and was like, oh yeah, no, I gotta do this. Like I gotta be involved.
yeah.
I need to see what of those movies that I gave money to actually matter in the eyes of the country. Which ones
Mhm.
weren't a waste of time. So
And that's why the only good award show is the People's Choice Awards.
yes, no, but that is it. And I don't know. You're right. I mean, like, but it's unfortunate that I feel like things like Kubo and My Life as a Zucchini, which I haven't seen yet, are just there. It's like you got the nomination, you should be happy with the nomination.
Mm,
Like against all odds, I want Kubo and the Two Strings to win because I
right.
think it was a very powerful story. I think it was as beautiful as Moana and as culturally aware of itself as Moana and
Yeah.
as culturally relevant as Zootopia. Like the things that it touched upon was really good.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't think people look at it and can. A lot of people can't see past the fact that it's just, oh well, it's the stop motion animation this
Yeah. Yeah.
year, and
Well, and then on the other side of that coin, like I'm not gonna lie, a big part of the reason why I want something like Kubo to be the one to take the Oscar is because like they're gonna make another Disney princess movie. They're gonna make another 3D Disney animated movie. So
right.
like that's gonna happen. No
And
problem
let's
there.
be
But
completely honest, if they can do it the way that they've done it with two Pixar followed by two Disney,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
going to do that too.
Right. And so like Laika is the only real and what's
Competition.
like whatever what company even made My Life as a Zucchini? Because like I'm
I don't
fascinated
know. I want to
that
know
this
all
movie that
about it,
like I
and I
barely
know
heard about is now suddenly this Oscar, like, which happens all the time, like,
right.
but I am really interested
Well,
in
it's
another
foreign, right?
stop
It's isn't it a
motion.
foreign film? I think it's French.
Is that what it is? I was gonna
Yeah,
say the cast list
because
definitely isn't,
right. So it's
but
probably
that's
had
easy
like
for them to redub.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's an American dub that you're seeing. But I
Mm.
feel like because it's I don't know because the poster that you see everywhere is Mi Obre de Zucarat, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's foreign. Like it's originally a foreign film that they gave an American dubbing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, it's
So I want to see like those kinds of companies win because nobody's doing stop motion anymore. And if they don't win, then they're going to die off. The only thing keeping them relevant is the fact that they're being well made. So that's what's been one of the coolest things about Laika since Coraline is that so far everything that they've done has been so well done on top of being this beautiful style in which they do it that it's the only thing keeping them going
right.
because man, it is so much fucking work and if they don't get recognized for that work, I won't
It'll
blame them
stop. It'll stop.
for stopping.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So like I understand that's like a terrible reason to like hand somebody an award, like, but it's good work and I don't want that work to die.
See, but that
So
thing that you
like
just talked about, that like recognition for the work that they're doing, that is what the nomination is. Our last film was Oscar nominated. You're right. They are getting to a point where that's not going to impress the investors anymore. They need a statue in order to say, like, we're doing it.
and every time they have such a good movie come out, but something that year is just a little bit better. Like Coraline was amazing, but I think that was the year where Pixar put out something, and I can't even remember off the top of my head now. But they got stolen that year.
So, it was either Toy Story or Up. Yeah, because Toy Story is 2010, so it was Up.
Yeah,
Or was it
yeah.
Wall-E? Like, that's that time frame. I'm trying to
Right.
think of my own personal thing. Because
Right.
Coraline is 2008, 2009, right? It's one of those years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Paranorman was amazing, but it just wasn't the best animated movie that year. You know, like they always do such a good job, but then somebody always comes in and eats their lunch. Like that just happens every time. And I just want them to just get something. It's like honestly, it's like watching Leonardo DiCaprio at the Oscars now. Like at some point they're going to end up doing a movie that I think is like not their best but still good, and that's going to be the one that they win on. And I'm just like,
Well,
like
the problem
Kubo
is,
is
though,
clearly like their opus. So that's why I want
yeah,
them to just.
I would
get
love
it.
it. I would love it. And
Yeah.
Kubo is I mean, even with like everybody looking like they're made of paper, I feel like of their films, it's it's the most accessible because like Box Trolls had like a very distinct visual style that I feel could be off-putting. Coraline as well was a very distinct visual look. I mean, I've never seen Paranorman, but it's that same sort of thing where like Kubo, like the beauty is all evident throughout.
But man,
You could disagree.
them
I'm
Disney
sorry.
movies though, huh?
Ugh, that well, here's the thing. If you want those type of people to be recognized, I cannot stress how much. Have you ever gotten to one of the Oscar short film like things?
A long time ago, when I was still living in Providence, and I used to go to the Avon, and they would do all the short film festivals before the Oscars.
Now they do it at the cable car, so that disappoints me just a little bit because I feel like I'm in a basement on a couch. But I mean, I've gone since like 2013 was the first year that I went, and now it is required viewing for me in order to enjoy the Oscars. And if you're a fan of animation, you got to check them out because that is where that stuff is recognized. That is where like the hard work of stop motion animation gets its moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you're right. Like, it sucks that unfortunately Disney exists and Disney is a behemoth. But Meryl Streep exists and is a behemoth, but she doesn't win every time that she's nominated.
No, but that's a whole other problem right now too. Shouldn't have even. All right. Anyway.
Well, we won't bring it up this time, but it's right now. Let's. Sorry to say, report listener. The Oscars are happening. They're all around us. It's like freaking Love Actually, but with the Oscars. And it's probably
we should think about it. We should think about an Oscars episode. That's what we should.
Well,
do.
I would love to do just a full. I'd love now that they're out. Give ourselves some time to watch them. I'm going to record one with Jeff. I'm going to record one with Dale. Of course, I'm going to want to record one with you. Oscar, what do you think's going to win?
Yeah, the Oscar rundown. Yeah, we should totally
I'd love
do that.
doing it. I would love to do it. But of course, like just thinking about it, it's going to inflect what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Meryl next time. But it's been a lot of movie talk. Is there anything else that people watch for entertainment, Sejan?
Man, transition if I ever heard one. Yeah, man, I wanted to talk a little bit. TV needs to get its due on this show. God damn it.
Okay, well, I thought I gave you. I felt like a segue sensei right there, and then you just kind of spit in my eye.
Nope, that's what I did. I pointed out that really awesome job you did. But yeah, we watch a fuck ton of TV, and so I wanted to make sure that we actually focused on a little bit of it this week. Specifically because we were talking about doing some Disney stuff, and man, the second that you start talking about Disney, I actually don't even think about the movies. Like, the first thing I start thinking of is cartoons, the cartoon shows in the '90s, and even now, like up until now, like some of the stuff that they've been doing animation wise, like I'm super excited because there's been a ton of announcements on the internet over the last couple of months, actually, at this point, of the new DuckTales series coming out. But really, all that did was make me want to go back and just watch the old series, which I own every DVD of.
There's 3, right? They haven't gone further than that.
They've done the 3 volumes, yeah. And also I have the movie, like.
I was trying to find a copy of the movie before we had this discussion because I want to watch The Treasure of the Lost Lamp so freaking bad because it's so freaking good.
I know.
It brings back Dijon from the goddamn Goose episode, which is one of the highlights of DuckTales.
I love that whole world, man. I grew up on a steady diet of DuckTales and Darkwing Duck, and Chip and Dale, but in terms of the Duckverse.
Yeah, but Chip and Dale. And let's also shout out Tailspin because I love Tailspin.
I love Tailspin. It's never one of those ones that I watched regularly though. And for anybody that doesn't know, these old '90s Disney shows were very much serialized. So if you were missing episodes, you were actually missing portions of stories.
Yeah, which is what kills the fact that I could get Tailspin right now. I could buy 3 seasons of Tailspin anywhere I go. It's everywhere. But it does not have the pilot as the pilot. It's all cut up into 5 episodes.
Right.
And it ruins the flow of that pilot. Because the Tailspin pilot was so incredible. And the fact that you cannot get it uncut anywhere legally blows my mind.
Darkwing Duck does the same thing, except I think it works better for Darkwing Duck because being based on a Batman-esque universe, serializing it actually works really well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But that's not the same for. Although I would say Tailspin is kind of in that vein of the old
well, it's like pulp. It feels. Yeah. I had a thing
Indiana
for
Jones.
Sky Captain.
Sky Captain's a good example. But who's the explorer that I'm trying to think of? The guy that King Solomon finds and stuff like that.
Arthur Conan Doyle. Oh, Quartermain. Alan Quartermain.
The
also written by.
Written
Written by him. Wrote.
Yeah. But like Quartermain, like based on like that type of storyline, right? Like
Right.
so like that kind of works too.
Treasure of the
But
Sierra Madre is really what
but
that
specifically
is.
what but thinking specifically about the Tailspin, yeah, premiere, like you're right, like the way that they cut it up, and then on top of that, it's really hard to get anybody else into it nowadays because people are so used to being able to sit down for 20 minutes or actually even nowadays 11 minutes for a cartoon show,
Right.
and like so dedicating an hour and a half, 2 hours to watching a bunch of episodes of Tailspin just so that they get one storyline is hard to it's hard to do with anybody nowadays.
Exactly. It's ridiculous. It's sad and it upsets me, and it really upsets me. But I mean, I get it. I understand where people are coming from, and your time is valuable. But that's why I think above all else, having it cut up, not having it as the full thing, because they took out the songs, which is the other thing that kills it. Because it was one of those ones that was an hour and a half long. It wasn't just an hour 20. So they had to get rid of the songs in order to cut it down into 5 20-minute episodes. And the songs are what tell all the story and put all the emotional heart into Tailspin so that you actually care about these characters. And it's not just chairs with an airplane.
Man, that is so disappointing.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And I mean, because DuckTales, I mean, like, those were made for that. Like, very rarely would you ever see, like, the DuckTales movie when it was on TV. Different, not the Treasure of the Lost Lamp. The one where they went to space with his money.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is, again, the premiere for that show, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
Because that's how they started all of these shows. Is they started all of them with like a Sunday night Disney movie, right?
Yes.
And then there would be the series would follow, and the DuckTales one is super good, and the Darkwing one is super good. Like
the
they just are
Darkwing
all
one,
so good.
The Darkwing one is only 2 episodes, right? Tuscabulba is only 2 episodes. Like,
I think it might be 3, but maybe you're right. Maybe it is the only 2.
But even then,
but it is a larger story.
And it's so good. That Tuscabulba is unfortunately the greatest Darkwing Duck villain, and he's only in that. Well, he has another thing, but I don't want to talk about that because I feel like it ruins the character and takes away all the emotional depth of that first episode. I don't like that he's resurrected as a cyborg. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know why. Who am I protecting by not saying that? It's from the friggin' 90s.
Yeah. No, when they bring him back as the robot version, it kind of ruins what happens at the end of that for sure.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, no, but that's true of all of that silly shit that used to happen, right? When they were like, we need to bring this character back because the toys are selling really well, and then it's just like, but that kills
what about
the emotional important weight of these things.
Just Us Justice Ducks, the 2-part episode where they make like a Justice League in Darkwing Duck, introduces Stegmutt, and then literally the next week is the origin episode of Stegmutt. Like, it's just like, what? Why would you serialize this stuff and then release it the way that you're releasing it?
Marketing, man. Marketing.
Yeah, it's true. It is. That Stegmutt episode is great.
Yeah. Well, but that's exactly what it is they're doing the Transformers thing where they're like, let's introduce a new toy at that point. You know what I mean? Like,
that's true. And Darkwing Duck, as far as, I mean, based upon the set of figures I'm looking at right now, they were one that had marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
for sure. Oh, yeah. Toys everywhere. I definitely remember getting toys from McDonald's, I think, when I was a kid for Darkwing.
I don't know. I just remember I had a rat catcher. I had Darkwing. I had Negavolt.
Yep.
Megavolt. Looking at him. And yeah, like, it's just, they were good. The Launchpad, but I was just excited to have a Launchpad figure, like, even as a kid, because he's such a great character from DuckTales. Which is what we're talking about, right?
Launchpad McQuack is one of my favorite Disney characters ever in both DuckTales and Darkwing. Like, super good. I love, like, the idea of the goofy sidekick with a heart of gold. You know, like, he's just this big dumb
he's
ox
also
that
capable. Like,
and good at what he's supposed to be good at.
Well, he's not good at what he's supposed to be good at, Sejan. He crashes the plane every goddamn time.
I'm sorry. He doesn't make any promises about landing. He doesn't make any promises about landing.
Any other world, his kindness is the reason why he's still employed. Because he would have been fired 1,000 times over.
And he could fix it every time he crashes it, so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, like, he really is. You know what? Honestly, Scrooge McDuck has Launchpad there because Launchpad probably accepts a sandwich a fucking day
Yeah, yeah.
as payment. That's how you have a giant stone building full of gold.
I
Is
never
you
thought
pay your
about that,
pilot
'cause
a
he's not
sandwich
paying.
a day.
Yeah, and that dude does everything for him.
Yes.
Launchpad is like his manservant. He's not just his driver. He also like he cooks for them. He serves dinner in a couple of episodes. Like
Yeah,
there's
like, oh, you need a babysitter? Sure thing, Mr. McD.
yeah.
Like it's
Let me take care of your nephews while you go run around the world for the next 2 months.
like
And he doesn't pay that dude shit.
and like but then he also has, Mrs. Beakley as a nanny for the boys, and he has Miss Ducksworth, which I fucking love that Ducksworth is a dog. Like let's just talk
right?
about that.
Out of all of them, yeah.
It's like Zootopia repaired a lot of problems that Disney had going back. But like, I mean, because the Beagle Boys, they're dogs too, right? Dogs are not well respected in that society. There's no way to cut that nicely.
Oh man, yeah. There was like I was rewatching episodes of DuckTales because I knew we were going to talk about this, and there is this Irish cop dog that is like horrendously offensive to watch because he's like this Keystone cop, like incapable of doing anything. I'm just watching this and I was like, man, dogs are just dumb in the Disney universe.
Yes,
because like
yes, they are.
What are your two main options? Goofy.
Right.
Or Pluto.
Who's
so dumb that he actually doesn't even talk.
That he doesn't even know that he can talk. You've seen Goofy, Pluto. Just do it. Yeah, no, it's like it's weird. Like that's another weird thing about the Disney universe is the fact that like they have monkeys and they have humans, because Pluto is essentially the ape form of whatever race evolved into Goofy and Pete.
Oh man.
Yeah, right? Blow your fucking brain, buddy. We need a whole episode devoted to Disney Afternoon. Giving you a Disney
we gotta do some
Afternoon.
Because the one thing that they don't put out anywhere is Goof Troop.
Goof Troop actually, if you go through the Disney Rewards store, and now they sell those exclusively at Toys R Us, the first 2 seasons are out.
Got to get a hold of those.
Yeah, oh man, I would love to actually sit down and watch Goof Troop, because like that's one of the only times where the TV show led to a movie in the Goofy movie, which like let's be honest, Goofy movie not even secretly in my top 5 Disney movies of all time.
No, Goofy movie's phenomenal, right? I even have a little soft spot in my heart for an extremely Goofy movie. Like,
you know why? I remember You've been to Coventry, Rhode Island, right? But yes. I don't think, has the Walmart always been where the Walmart is in the center of New England?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So growing up, the Walmart is where the Job Lot is now, and like Burger King. So like right behind it was there. So like on the way to school, you could stop at Walmart, or you could get to school early and walk over to Walmart and maybe miss first period. You know what? That's not an admission of guilt. It's just something that you could do. And the day that an extremely Goofy movie came out in 2002, I was at Walmart before I went to class, and I bought it on VHS because I was so excited for it. And while it is not, and I mean I'm not blind to it, it's not the same level as the original Goofy movie. It still has the heart. It still has that great relationship between Max and Goofy, which is really what that movie is carried on. It's just that, college didn't work out and Roxanne's not there. Like, the things that you wanted to see in a continuation of the Goofy movie didn't make it.
Right.
But the themes do, and it's great. The disco, it's great. It's a great freaking thing. But it's also a product of its time because, like, why are they now into extreme sports?
Yeah, I was going to say there's an entire like 20-minute montage of Goofy doing like skateboarding and rollerblading and stuff like that, which is like just not a thing anymore. Like we watch that and it's I
mean, like it makes sense that Goofy would do it because he was in all those original cartoons like about football and stuff.
Well, right. And when you have a character whose main flaw is what a klutz he is, putting him on wheels is a no-brainer, right? Like that's a comic. Exactly, right? Like no. It's a total guarantee.
That was a good impersonation. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that was a pretty good Goofy.
You did that. I want everybody to be aware that you did that, and then you congratulated yourself.
You know what? I did because you know what? You were going to congratulate me, but you were so quick to tear down my Mark Wahlberg and my other one that I did. I don't remember.
Hey, guy. Hey.
how you doing? You doing good? Say hi to your mother for me.
Oh my god.
Yes, you're right. It is Goof Troop is one that I do want to track it down. And then they continued those with like there are Max and Goofy stories in two of the Christmas specials.
Yes.
Like
yeah, and House of Mouse, like they would show up all the time in the cartoons. And now on the new Disney wow.
The new Disney.
The new like sorry, I just am remembering this show. I forget what they call them. The new Disney Toons cartoon show where the main characters are Goofy and Mickey and Minnie and Donald. I forget what the name of it is.
I didn't even know this existed. I'm hitting up the internet. This sounds good.
So phenomenal. Yeah.
I like that Clarabelle Cow is back. I saw like a mini cartoon where they were trying to get into like a fancy restaurant and Clara was there and I'm like, what the hell, Clara? I thought we forgot about you because, it's weird that you got another.
Yeah, it's basically there's this new half an hour show on Disney Channel that is basically using all of the old characters, but it's animated in a very new style that is very different from anything that they've done before, and I actually really like it. It's got this weird feel of Steamboat Willie meets Ren and Stimpy.
It kind of feels flashy, like it was animated in Flash.
Yeah,
not that it's look how shiny this anime. No.
Actually, here's a good thing for everybody to watch to get a feel for this thing. Watch the Christmas special that they just did this past year.
All right, yeah. No,
it's about Donald deciding that he does not want to fly south for the winter because he wants to celebrate Christmas with everybody.
Aww.
But it turns out that the reason that ducks fly south for the winter in this universe is because they go fucking crazy if they don't.
Do you think it's like the episode of Rocko's Modern Life where Filbert has to go to the island to become a man and he's like reluctant, but like really it's where the turtles go to fuck?
Yes, I mean, or that episode of Futurama in which Zoidberg needs to get to that planet, or else he's going to lose his mind. Yeah, like it's very much
like
that.
It's very much Heat.
Yeah. So like Donald, Daisy, and so that what's really cool about this show, this is what got me on this, is that it uses all of these side characters that you know and love. Like every character in the background is a character that you recognize in the back of your head somewhere. So like Max will walk by sometimes, right? Or even like Pete and his family will walk by sometimes. Like things like that happen.
No way, you're kidding me? Like Peg and Pistol?
Yeah, like you.
No, that makes my freaking day.
Characters, and the ducks especially, specifically because this Christmas episode is focused on Donald.
Yeah,
every duck you can think of just shows up at some point. Like his big dumb cousin shows up. The professor shows up.
The professor, you mean Gyro Gyaralus? Is that
yeah.
Is that what
yeah.
the professor, or is there some professor character that I've forgotten?
No. Gyaralus is who I'm talking about. Like they just pop up as like characters. Very clearly they are like harping on these old shows and stuff like that. They are trying to pull that stuff into this new stuff. I
gotta check this out, Siege. Thank you.
It is a style of comedy that is very different from any other Disney show I've ever watched before, but definitely in my wheelhouse. So like I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah. So new Disney is doing a thing too. I don't know. I really liked like House of Mouse and stuff like that. Like their attempts at trying to keep the cartoon stuff going and the TV stuff going have been not nearly as strong as they were in the 90s, but I've liked what they've done. There's just not as much of it as there used to be.
Exactly. I feel like they have made a pretty good effort, which does bring me to the new DuckTales. And it's going back to an earlier point, so it's nice because it kind of ties a button. It really kind of feels like stunt casting. It feels like, let's bring in Lin-Manuel Miranda. Let's bring a bunch of people that people love now, and we're guaranteed to make money.
Yeah. Again, I will point out, though, is that like guys like Bobby Moynihan and Danny Pudi and stuff like that, they've been doing voice work for a while.
That's true.
Moynihan,
yeah.
That's a whole other show. So like... even David Tennant, who they have playing Scrooge McDuck,
he was the Fugitoid in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in season 4 when they went to space.
Well,
so he has experience.
Well, and also like in the UK, he is known for some of his voice work. Like he's the voice of the How to Train Your Dragon books, which is why he actually ends up in those movies for like a split second.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Right, like the dude has like some voice work chops that they are. So like again, you're not wrong. They definitely went out looking for people of a higher caliber, like like these types of actors.
Well, people
But
who
at the same time-
transcend. They didn't just
Right.
get people who are known for voice acting. They get people who are
Right.
recognizable from other places.
Right. So like, yeah, they are definitely doing that. But at the same time, they're also being smart enough to make sure that they're not just casting people just for that. Like they are capable of doing the work, and they come with this nice little added package of having a fan base behind them that they can guarantee are going to watch at least the first couple of episodes just so that they can get David Tennant, just so that they can get Danny Pudi.
Yeah. And that's the
Even
thing.
Ben Schwartz, in a way, has a certain audience behind him that normally wouldn't watch DuckTales. That because he's in it, they're now going to check out at least the premiere. Right.
And that all stems from really My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic, like that whole marketing thing, and you've seen it touch all corners of animation going forward. But if you want to talk more TV on this show, like I would love to devote just talking about TV animation in a future episode.
Yeah, we'll find some stuff for sure. Because there's definitely things that I would love to talk about. Also, we should say that like if anybody out there is like into something and they want to hear if we're into it or if let's talk about it, like shoot us messages on Twitter and stuff. Like if we're knowledgeable about it, we'll always talk about it.
Even if we're not knowledgeable about it, I'll pretend. Like that's the point, right? It's a show about everything. So whatever you're,
I'm not opposed to finding new things. So please tell me some new things I should be into.
Exactly. And if you want to do that, you can hit us on Twitter at The Say Report. And you know what? I also check my Gmail account. So thesayreport@gmail.com. Send them out. I want to hear about it. Siege? Are you there?
Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the name of this damn cartoon show. No, yeah. Hit me up on Twitter at Siege versus the World.
Oh, and if you want to just talk to me on Twitter, it's at Devin D. Decker. But yeah, so anything else to say before we wrap this one up? I mean, I feel
I think we should let this one go.
Okay. Well,
Mickey Mouse and Friends. That is the name of it.
All right,
Mickey
so
Mouse
I will. So Mickey Mouse and Friends, go out and look at Siege and try to see Split. I cannot rave about it enough. Everybody go see Split. Give Shyamalan a chance. And this is from somebody who like literally wanted to eat my hands during The Visit because it was that boring.
Which you mean?
What?
You said The Visit. The Visit?
That was the name of the movie. Yeah.
It's another crappy.
Wait, which one do you think I was talking about? The Village? No, The Visit was last year. It was found footage about the two kids visiting their grandparents.
Right. Visiting their grandparents. Right.
Oh yeah, it was definitely bad enough for hand-eating thoughts to pass through my head. All right, cool. So thank you for listening to the Say Report. I am Devin Decker.
I'm Siege and Sarwick.
And with apologies to your mother, have a fantastic day.